Hey, what up, YouTube? What up, though? What up, though? Okay, so I sat here and recently saw this video by Shisha Zed off the coffee pot, where he was talking about this woman who came online and was complaining about the fact that her best friend's wife was coming between their friendship and just showing her energy that she just didn't trust them, and that she just didn't trust the two of them together, and perceiving her as some type of threat. And this this brought up the conversation that a lot of people don't really want to talk about or acknowledge, and that is the idea and the concept of, can men and women truly be friends? Can they be friends? Now, Shisha Zed sat here and basically made his point. He's not he's in that red pill space, and that he doesn't sit here and push. He doesn't talk stuff out of his ass. That liberal. That liberal. Oh, let me just sit here and just say a quote that makes me smile. He doesn't do that. He puts some thought into what he says, and he made good points. I have to acknowledge he made good points, and he made good points because ultimately, even I agree, I'm taking the wife's side, but this video isn't necessarily to promote what everybody already assumes to be the case. This video is to start the conversation that maybe the wife's friend in this scenario actually does have a strong case that can be made. And the first thing we have to acknowledge is the fact that a power struggle even exists, and that the wife is sitting here looking at this woman as some type of threat. Now, if the general culture is any indication of what's going on around us, the wife has ample reason to be a little distrusting of women around her husband. I mean, I wouldn't be open to just anybody being around my girl. So, and then that's why I kind of have to stand with her on this one. But we have to break down exactly, if the wife is right. The wife is right, but how right is she? More importantly, does the female best friend, does she really not have a case? And the first thing we have to ask is, I got some notes here. Well, why are male-female relationships seen as bad as the first place? And the first issue that kind of comes up is emotional priority. And that is, when it comes to friends, friends can be a threat. Not necessarily in a sexual sense, because you know what? I didn't really get no sexual energy from the lady's clip off the coffee pot. I didn't get no emotion. I didn't get no real emotional connection from her where it's like, damn, I really wanted that dude, and he just kind of like the one that got away. I never got that from her. What I sat here and kind of got from it is the fact that the wife kind of wants to be number one, and the best friend being around makes it so that the universe doesn't necessarily revolve around her. But the case has to be made. She's the wife. Her husband is supposed to revolve around her in a certain sense of the word. But and the wife's, first order of like major business that we're seeing is, we got married, female best friend gotta go. And the thing is, if this was a male friendship or male relationship, we would see this as controlling. we would see this as just being overbearing. But because it's a male female friendship, a male female friendship in Western American culture in 2026 has no rights that anybody has to observe. It has no protections. It has no freedoms. It has no liberties. And I stand against that, because if we're gonna be feminists, you can't sit here and cherry pick what part of feminism you want. You can't sit here and say women can go work, women can do this, women can be scientists, lawyers, and shit. You can't sit here and say that, and then in the next breath talk about, oh well, your partner had this much power or this much control over you, and in this case it's kind of in the reverse, where basically we sitting here saying the wife has all this power and all this authority and all this control over her husband, and particularly taking into account that we are very much a feminist leaning culture. That makes up the vast majority. We are under the feminist social contract on gender. The patriarchy social contract on gender, that shit was gone back in the late 70s. We are on the feminist social contract on gender now. And the lack of consistency is a constant issue brought up when it comes to this damn feminism shit. And that is, you have to be able to let men and women be friends. And if they can't be friends, if you're operating with a broken philosophy where men and women can't be friends, well then can we work together? Then can we sit here and hold up? Can a single man and a single woman who don't know each other sit in the movie theater alone, not even together? Can we sit here and make the case that something sexual went on between them just because that's the case, because they was in a dark place together alone? You have to. The lack of consistency here in the philosophy of how the friendship thing works, to sit here and just give male and female friendships no protections, on a societal level, and by the protection, I ain't saying off of a legal sense. I'm talking about on a cultural sense of the word, which is, what happened is. Well, what happened is the wife sat here and said, well, if y'all gonna sit here and talk, y'all gotta sit here and talk to a group chat. Now, I'm pretty sure there was a long line of things that have happened before then, but the group chat was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. And the female friend basically stood up against it, and she wanted to know, I'm not doing it. That's kind of a violation of our friendship, a violation of our bond. Look, if he's going to sit here and tell you stuff, he'll tell you stuff. But I don't want to sit here and have every conversation he and I have because we're friends. Like let's sit here and say your dog died. When somebody or something or some pet or some close to you dies, you don't want to sit here and really talk to Joe Blow about that scenario. You just don't. You don't want to pick some random off the corner to talk to about that scenario. So I'm sitting here bawling my eyes out, crying. Oh, my baby. Oh, my baby. I miss my dog. I'm not tight with your wife like that to where I want to have that. We didn't have that bond like that. I came to talk to you. I didn't came to talk to both of you. And it's a breach of the friendship for you to sit here and have her in the conversation like that, because I'm gonna assume he's not. Well, if he's not cheating, then what's the issue? And if he and if he is cheating, then you got bigger problems than whatever's going on between he and I. What does this necessarily have to do with our friendship of 20 years? 20 years of a platonic friendship, that's not proof enough. That's not proof enough that we're just friends. What you do you need to see 30, 40, 50? And more importantly, this is 2026. This is 2026. So let's just really have that conversation. I don't trust a lot of dudes to get. Come on, y'all. We need consistency here. You can't sit here and say, "Oh, men and women can't be friends." Oh, but men never fuck each other. Come on, y'all. Come on. So I was sitting and compare the men and women can't be friends thing to the Mike Pence rule, and the Mike Pence rule has been a disaster in the business world. It is effectively locked out women from opportunities. It has locked out women from improving in anything. It has sat here and shut so many doors that it's not even funny. And the Mike Pence rule, but the Mike Pence rule, it basically states, never sit here and have close, intimate scenarios with any woman that is not your wife. And many men have adopted that primarily to protect themselves from any accusations of sexual harassment and whatnot, but also it has basically barred an entire slowed down an entire gender. Half of us, it slowed down half of us from moving forward. This philosophy doesn't work. It doesn't work. Run the numbers. Run the analytics. And now I'm sitting checking my notes and I'm coming back to the group chat. Now, the group... Now, when it comes to the group chat, there are two different ways to look at this. And that is, friendships require vulnerability and intimacy in order to work. They require that. No, there has to be some closeness. There has to be personal talks. There has to be that. But the wife is kind of making the case that nothing should be said that she doesn't know about. And that works in the context of male-female friendships. But as soon as you make it male-male or female-female, like, if your girl go off with her girl to go and go get drunk at the bar, I mean, and they out late at night drinking, you telling me the idea that your girl was on some lesbian stuff that night never crossed your mind? I mean, if your dude went out with his homeboy and they was out till 2 a.m. hanging out doing whatever, you telling me the idea that this dude and him ain't linking together never crossed your mind? But when it comes to a man and a woman getting together, it's like the end of the world. And the lack of context here is kind of what's missing there. And that is, it'd be one thing if he had already kind of shown himself of being just ain't nothing cheating piece of crap dude. Then we could sit here and kind of make the case that, well, because he's just a lying piece of crap, okay, well, now you can't have no female friends. Okay, cool. That makes sense. But this is like a stand-up dude, and he really is just kind of like, and you don't, and you're allegedly secure in your relationship, then what's the problem with a chick that he has freaking 20 years of photos going back through middle school, through high school, through college, through first job, through second job, through when you sat here and had that downturn in your life and, you just was kind of going through some real, you're like, look, this is a friend that's kind of always been there. That's sitting here threatening you more than anything, not anybody else, not any, like, the case can be made that the wife is being a little insecure and very overbearing. The case can be made. I am on the wife's side ultimately because this is America. We know how it is. We know how it goes now. This is America. We have to sit here and take our culture into consideration, which is the wife is not sitting here just doing this willy nilly with no support, but the door is open for foul play to take place. Now let's see what we got. So I have to ask the philosophical question: Can a third party hold any private space in a married person's heart? And it's just, we sit here and we understand the context when it's male, male, female, female, but I think it's just kind of a hard pill to swallow that a man and a woman can be just friends and kind of potentially hold that best friend spot. Now, if you say yes, then we have to support the female friend's right to a lifetime platonic partner. And that's a good thing, but we also have to remember that it's a lot of people who don't act in good faith when it comes to that. It's too many stories. And this is why I have to stay with the wife's side on this one. It's just too many stories of these male-female relations screwing each other. But I'm talking about, but when it comes to the philosophy here, the wife is operating on broken philosophy, and even I'm operating on broken philosophy. You're agreeing with her, working with the information that I have to work with, concerning this situation, and that is, I'm saying that a third party can't have space in a married person's heart, because I acknowledge that the wife and the husband are supreme authority over their spouse. They are supreme authority over one another. But one of my favorite sayings is, I have no problems with people being slaves. Some of us are born to be slaves. My question is, who deserves to be a master? And it's just, I just kind of feel like the wife is not really showing this master mentality of being a quality master. I feel like the door for her being a little overbearing and just a little bit insecure is kind of a major factor in this. Now, we also have to sit and take into consideration the erasure. It appears to be an erasure of individuality that just because you're married doesn't mean you stop being you. You are still you. You're not, I'm still me. You're still you. Just because you're married, that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, you just throw away who you were before rings came on. You had a life before that person, and you'll have a life when that person leaves, assuming one dies before the other. So when it came to the group chat, I sat here and got to stand with the female friend, because by rejecting the group chat, it preserves the autonomy of their friendship. But we got to remember that autonomy opens the door for some bullshit. It does. That opens the door for foul play, and that is a factor. We have to put that into consideration. It's a thing. I'm not gonna sit here and act like, oh, nobody sat here and exploited that hole before. But the wife is wrong and the wife is more wrong because essentially she's sitting there saying that the only relationship a man and woman can have is one that potentially leads to sex. And if that really what we want to, if that really what we want, here's the thing. I ain't got no problem saying it. I ain't no feminist. I don't care. I ain't got no problem saying it. This is why I have no problem agreeing with the wife. Reluctantly, sure. But I have no problem agreeing with that fact because the case can be made that any relationship, a man and a woman, is just going to potentially lead to sex. Well, let me sit here and just close this out. This is kind of my first time kind of working with data. I kind of wrote this last minute before I had to go to work. And that is, let me sit here and leave you with this quote. If we accept that male-female relationships have no respected boundaries, then we have to admit that we do not believe men and women can ever be true peers. We have reduced every interaction between men and women to nothing but its potential for sex. Women are nothing but sex objects to men. Men are nothing but wallets to women. Because ain't nothing free out here. Anyway, take care. Peace. All right.